Hey,
Hey,
everybody.
hey.
I got you.
I knew it.
Gotcha.
I knew it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wombo podcast. I am Mr. Gimpy, and to the left of me is the one, the only Chipmunk who we didn't talk about who was starting it this week. So
Hey, man.
you get a little
It was
cross talk
bound to
there.
happen. It
One
was
day,
bound.
man. One day. How you doing,
Yeah.
bro? It's been we're filming this a little late. I have it's near a New Year's and
Yeah.
my
Kwanzaa,
yeah, right. There's a bunch of shit.
Hanukkah,
My wife decided that
Festivus.
we are getting rid of all of our holiday stuff that was out. So behind me I have stacked up Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, including I didn't realize we had 3 Christmas trees because we had one from our old apartment and the light
Yep.
stopped working on it. Then we bought one and we lost the middle piece, and I was like, well, screw it, we'll buy another one. So I'm going through the storage room. She's like, why do we have 3? We found all these pieces that
Yep.
didn't go.
Yeah,
So
cobbled together
yeah.
a new Christmas tree.
Yeah,
from
so we're
parts of
cleaning
the
out
old.
the storage room. The low-key reason for cleaning out the storage room for me is that's where I'm putting my 3D printer, as I've said prior. That 3D
Yep.
printer's out. It's ready to rock. I just need a spot for it. So I have this nice desk in there where that'll go and house all my 3D prints.
I saw somebody 3D print a Spider-Man mask for their
That's
cat.
dope. That's pretty dope, actually. I'm not going to lie.
It was pretty dope. I was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, right. But yeah, man. So I got that. So you can probably see just if those of you watching on YouTube, behind me, there's shit stacked. So I had to do the OG. We got to bring it back for almost the year anniversary of seeing the green screen behind me. That's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's back. So what's up with you, Chip? What's new, brother?
I've just been chilling. I've been playing a lot of roguelike games. I had Christmas for me, which was I just went to the mom's and we had tostadas. We just sat around eating tostadas. It was pretty great. There's some tamales there.
Yeah, I had tamales for Christmas too.
And I brought the gift of cash, but more people showed up than I was ready for. So I had to move some cash presents around last minute. But it was fine. It's okay. They're, whatever.
When
And
it's
then,
family, right? It's
yeah. And I gave it to my brother because it's for the kids. And he's like, why are you giving it to me? Just give it to the kids. I'm like, bro, they're going to lose it. Just hold on to it. Hold on to these till they get home, put it in their piggy banks. You hand them $20 and then they have a fire truck in the other hand, dude. The $20 is gone, dude. They don't care about paper. They care about
100%.
yeah. You give them a stuffed animal, bro. They're like, oh, paper's gone, dude. This is worthless to me.
I will say though, for my daughter, she will hold that shit and then literally secure it until it's in her piggy bank. It doesn't matter where you'll give it to her. I hand her if I hate change and stuff. I never have it on my person. I hate physical cash. I would rather.
I turned down 85 cents the other day.
Yeah, dude.
I was
screw it.
I was like, I'm good. You keep it, dude. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, dude. It's whatever.
Yeah,
dude.
and this isn't even pandemic stuff. This is just I don't want to deal with change ever. So, but now if someone hands me change back, I'm like, I will immediately hand it to my daughter who just turned 5, and she'll put it in her piggy bank. And she's like, hey, Daddy, can we count my piggy bank? And we did it the other day. She has $40 in there.
Nice. That's sad
Just
enough.
from me denying change. So maybe I got to rethink that. But whatever. That's her hustle, and I'm proud of her.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they don't, some children are better with it than others, but I didn't want to risk it. I think my nephews are pretty good with that stuff, but
yeah,
I was like, I don't know.
At the end of the day, they're still kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. But that's good, dude. Glad you had a good Christmas. Got any plans for the new year? Or by the time this comes out, it'll be out. But
it'll be long and gone.
Yeah.
I took the week off after Christmas. So I've just been game deving during that time, which the entire week is flowing by, bro. I basically haven't been doing my 9-to-5 job, but I've been doing 15 to 16-hour days of just game dev. Because
I will say, dude, it's been amazing watching you just create, because I can tell there's this creative spark that just ignited, and you are not only are you playing games again, but not just games that you've played before. You're trying new games daily, it seems. You're streaming those. That's been really fun to watch. And then seeing that there's one game in particular that we'll talk about that I suggested that you played and seemed to love. So I'm excited about that. But it's been amazing to watch. It's been inspirational as well. I know that you're doing it for you, but I got to say, just looking at what you're doing and you and I kind of operate in the same space. It's very inspirational, dude. And you got me wanting to work. So
Yeah, well,
kudos to you. Hats off,
part of me
buddy.
also wants to like document it, like the way I'm going and like what I'm doing, but the other part of me is just like, I don't. Nobody cares about. Like, I'm sure like somebody would think it's cool because I was watching like some videos of people who do that where they post like, oh, here's all the games I've been like for the last 5 years of during my game development journey, and they like show like all these different demos and stuff that they worked on and made, and like I make some like happy little accidents that are like ridiculous because like I would say I'm at an intermediate level, and intermediate level, there's not tutorials for anything anymore. Like it's just like you have to figure it out.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
a lot of it's just like thinking. Like my bread and butter right now has just been opening like Paint and like Notepad, and I just write down like step by step what I'm actually trying to do. It's like I had like an item that you get from a treasure chest, and I was like, I started doing it, and I was like, all right, what am I trying to do here? And then I just like stopped, and I just like wrote it down like step by step, like exactly what needs to happen in what order, and then I like went through and I executed it.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like you're trying to make a cake, but it doesn't have instructions. So
That's the perfect analogy, honestly. So anyone looking to get into game dev, Chip hit the nail on the head. You are making a cake, and when you're just starting out, you are making a basic cake. Eggs, butter, flour, whatever. Just or at that point, eggs, like oil or whatever, and cake
easy
mix.
bake
You know what
mix,
I mean?
yeah.
Like cake mix. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then when you get on, you're making your own cake mix, and then at some point you are pulling the eggs out of the chicken's asshole. You know what I mean? It's like at some point.
like it's
So
that
so
farm to table at some point.
yeah. So at some point you get to that, and that's pretty much where Chip is right now, right? So
Yeah,
so and when you're at this level of game dev where you know more than the basics, but not enough to really just start making the Taj Mahal from scratch.
yeah,
It's a lot of learning process, and it's a lot of brainstorming, and it's one of those things that's frustrating, but once you figure stuff out, it's the most rewarding aspect of game design.
yeah. And I'll also say like nobody wants to help you out too at this
No
level.
one does. Yeah.
Because like I'll look at like forums for like people who have similar problems because that tends to be your go-to like when you're learning this stuff, and like everyone's like, yeah, figure it out. They're like, or like just read the documentation, and I'm like, oh man.
So truly, what helps me and what I've been trying to do when we've been like texting or you send snaps and stuff is we'll ask you discovery questions. Like one thing you're all like, I'm like, are you using an array for that? You're like, arrays don't exist in this program, but we're using this, and I'm like, okay, how's that work? Where things are like where I know what you're trying to do and methods in other programs to do it. And
Yeah,
then you tell me. So it like I don't even know if it helps you, but I know for me, like I treat, especially if I'm showing a game to someone I know makes games or even dabbles in it, I will show them hoping that they'll look at it and go, oh hey, there's something that I was thinking, or how'd you do this? Even if it's something where I can explain what I did, how I did it, just really quickly, it solidifies that the method I used. So like that's what Sir Solace and I did on our first games that we've made. Like we figured out gravity, for one, and
yeah,
it's like, how'd you do that? And we've been going back and forth with each other. So now we have a default gravity we both like when we're making platformers. We don't
yeah.
even have to ask that question anymore because we both know what we both liked.
Yeah, there's
So
something that just feels good, and it's something that like a lot of people take for granted as well. I was just listening to somebody talk about this last night. They had like a thing where they're like, "Oh, games you shouldn't try to make starting out," and one of them was a platformer, and they're like, "You take it for granted because you grew up playing them, but there's so
mhm.
much like nuance and feel and like collision that you just don't really realize just because it's already been perfected." And like their suggestion was like, open up Mario Maker and try and make like a good level in that, and it's going to take you like 2 or 3 hours to do. And now
I
realize
d-
like when
yeah.
you try and do it yourself, like in your own game, it's going to take you like 3 to 4 hours per level, and you're going to need like at least 12 of them. And people are going to run through them in 2 to 3 minutes. So it's like you have to generate a ton of content for like a quick turnaround. Like the burn rate is like ridiculous on them. So they're like, master the feel of like that first if you're going to do it. And
I
like you see a lot
disagree
of,
with that. I disagree with that.
yeah, it was like a suggestion. It was
Yeah.
they're talking about for like the absolute beginner, and like I've said that too on this pod where I'm like start with like a one screen game and then like do that first before you like try and tackle anything bigger.
I agree with the one screen game. I think platformer, it's such a great learning tool because it has so many different concepts that you'll use in every other game going forward. So I
Yeah,
truly think if not your first game, like probably your first one of your first three games should be a platformer.
yeah,
I think single screen game, puzzle game, platformer are like the big three that you should do personally, and that's like I've been dabbling with game dev off and on since I've been 10 years old, you know.
yeah.
And what stuck is when I started off with a single screen game, puzzle game, platformer. And this is not something like YouTube didn't exist back then, you know. Like I
Gotta
had to
read
figure this
books.
shit on my own. I
Uh,
bought like I my parents brought over a bunch of shit that I left at their house, right? They brought it over around Christmas time, and they're like, "Hey, here's your old shit. Get it out of my house." It's like old game
yeah,
dev books, dude, from like the 90s, you know? Like
yeah, dude.
for the pod, I'm 32 at the moment, so it's not like I'm ancient, but you know, books were a thing.
Or
You
like
know?
Dark
So,
Basic.
yeah,
It's like,
yes, I actually have a Dark Basic book. I should show
yeah,
that
dude.
to you.
I think like everybody's had that Dark Basic book
A
at
Dark
some
Basic
point.
book. The
Yeah.
click and create, or making games to click and create as well. Yeah, yeah. So good shit,
The
man.
OG game maker.
Websites for kids is another one where it was like
Alright.
HTML coding. So it's interesting seeing all those books and how like a lot of that started my journey into not only game creation but just learning about software in general. You know, gaming was definitely the gateway, but you learn a lot. Like if you make games, you're learning a little bit about computers in general. You know, or how the architecture of like consoles work too. You
Yeah.
know.
And that's like the next thing I want to tackle on my bucket list. So it was I want to make a match 3 like puzzle game. But before that I wanted to do a card game, and not like a battle card game or a TCG, but I wanted to make like blackjack, something simple. And I did that today. I finished that. I'm happy that I finished it. It took me, I don't know, like 9, 12 hours to do, to like
Yeah.
figure out everything. Just because like I've never done it, and there's no arrays in here. So like I had to figure out how to, and like I found out everything's just smoke and mirrors because I was looking up like the one person I found with like a working
Oh,
example.
one sec before you continue. I don't think we said this, but what development program are you using?
Right now I'm using GDevelop. Before I was using Unity, and I still like Unity, but it's just takes forever to make anything in 3D. Like I don't know. I feel like I usually game develop for like 3 to 4 months in a row, and then I take like a break for like a year, and then I come back to it. And I do this like every year. Usually like something like some creativity bug bites me, and I'm like, oh, I gotta try and make this thing that is stuck in my head. And I sit down and I try and make it. So in Unity, I made a generic quest, which is basically done. I have to do the boss animations, which I don't want to do. I've been talking about on this podcast,
For a year?
for a year. But yeah, I got to do that. I was going to do it this week, but instead I started doing all this stuff in GDevelop. And GDevelop's kind of like Construct 2 before like some of its updates. It's lacking a lot of core features you would need to make a video game. But I like it. I don't know, like it doesn't have a good in-house like tile map editor, and it's like a 2D game engine. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. But the beautiful thing about it is like it's all Java based, so you can write actual JavaScript in it, and then you can also just use like its visual scripting. But because it's Java, it uses plugins like Yarn. So if you've ever tried to make like some sort of visual novel, you probably heard of Yarn. It's like a good node-based storytelling thing,
Yeah,
and
you
that
just click and
plugs.
drag at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and that plugs directly in to GDevelop. And then Tile is also a JavaScript tile map creation, and that also just like plugs right in. But right now it doesn't bring over collision or items.
So do you have to manually set collisions after you bring over your
Yep,
tile map? Okay. Okay.
making it kind of pointless, but it still
It's
looks
still, I
pretty.
mean, you can still make the full level in
Yeah,
tile
and it's
though, and
faster
then
than trying to do it by hand.
true. So anybody following along here, Tiled's open source, right? Or is it
Yeah,
just free? Yeah. So Tiled's an open source tile map editor where, and for those who don't know, 2D games, you're playing on tiles. They're like individual things that kind of slot together like puzzle pieces. That's what the levels are made with. Tiled really speeds up development because you have these puzzle pieces, you just click and drag where you want them to go, and
yep,
you can import them into your game engine of choice. Game Maker has a built-in one, but you can also
yeah,
import it through Tiled. Construct has a tiled plugin as well,
But it
and
also has like an
other ones.
in-house
And there's an
like
in-house one.
yeah,
So
every game engine has one usually.
yeah. So, but I mean, it's something that's ubiquitous across all of them, and you can just use that, and it runs on anything. Tail's a great tool. So yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't mean to get off track, but I just
No,
wanted to
so
cover that what these things are we're talking
yeah,
about
and
because
like
you and I know, and the listener might not. You know.
yeah, and like Yarn's just like a text-based editor for like if you're having a conversation, you want it to branch off to choices, like you just drag and drop, and it gives you a new text box, and you just add it in there, and then it
Yes.
will present those choices like in like any RPG or regular game or
Yeah.
anywhere that decisions making.
And to anyone who wants to get into game development, if you are wanting to do something where it's a multiple choice, there is a ton of coding that goes into that, and Yarn simplifies that so much.
Yeah,
It's a wonderful plugin that I think everyone should know about. It really helps with dialogue and like a choose your own adventure style thing, whether it's a visual novel or like you said, an RPG, or you know,
yeah, any
it does
game with
help a ton.
dialogue, like and
Yes,
choices, like
yes.
yeah. So I don't know. So it's lacking a lot of core features, but just like raw bones, it's really rugged, man. Like I don't know, and like it's actively being developed, and like a lot of stuff it doesn't have in house, but there's because it's open source, they have like extensions built in, so you can be like, oh, I want something to happen. So I made like I wanted have a vision, my Dragon Force clone vision, where I basically want to make Dynasty Warriors, but in 2D, where you're fighting like a ton of dudes.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah,
I basically made that. It works. It's pretty great.
sweet.
Yeah, but to do that, like there's like a few different plugins I pulled in. One's like a Z buffer, so like wherever your guy is, it automatically makes them bigger or smaller, and then it also detects the layer, so it'll move them up or down a layer. So it's like if you think about like just a bunch of pictures on top of each other, it'll make sure the right one's showing that's closer.
Yep. So so Chip mentioned a Z buffer. That is the layer that controls like the in and out,
Yeah,
really. So you know, if a character's far away from the screen, it will make it smaller, and when they're closer, it'll make it bigger. So it simulates depth.
yeah. It's like for most like isometric games and stuff is like it's most used for that, something like that. But you know, if you have
So like
3D,
Guardian Heroes, I think too,
yeah,
for
a
the
lot,
Saturn, if you remember
ton
that.
of games. I
Yeah.
feel like game development like had like a weird branch in the late 90s where like Sega Saturn really didn't take off. Like there was a time when it was like
Sega Saturn had
2.5D.
yeah. I mean, 2.5D is still definitely a thing. It's
Yeah.
more established now, but Saturn and PlayStation, but I'd say Saturn more because their sprite work had such unique ideas for it when you go back and look.
Yeah.
That it was so rudimentary then, but it's still being used today. Like you
It
said with the Z buffer.
yeah, it took like a weird right turn. So it's like you have like this weird branch of development that like went deep into 2.5D, but then like Nintendo 64 and PlayStation like brought 3D graphics to house, and like everyone's like, yeah, whatever. So there's just like a lot of interesting concepts and ideas back then, and I'd like to like look at that and I try to just build like quick demos on like, oh, how can I recreate this? So I've been trying to just do that. I don't know, man. It's been fun, but I would recommend GDevelop. It's pretty good. It's free. What turned me off from the new Construct 3 is it like costs like an annual membership of like $100.
Yeah.
GDevelopment has like a thing where you can support it for like $2 a month if you want, and it
Okay.
makes exporting things easier. So right now it doesn't create like any executable for Windows for you, or Mac or Linux or Android. But if you pay $2, it'll give you like one button export to do that. Right now,
Okay.
like you have to do it manually. So like you have to go into like your console and like just type stuff. You can still do it. It's just like a little bit more pain in the ass.
Does it export as a HTML5 file
Yeah,
or
it does
okay?
that just fine.
So
Uh,
if you pay for the $2, you'll get like an exe then.
yeah, you can, you know, if you're doing like Windows stuff or you want to
Sure.
branch out to more stuff. I don't know.
Would
It's
you when you're done, would you pay for the $2 to get the export
I've
options?
been thinking about it just recently because I'm like I'm really enjoying it. I wouldn't mind supporting them. It's like $2. It's like whatever, you know.
I will say do it because even if you don't like expand these projects, it's great having it on my phone. To this day, I have games that I've made. You know, just to play off and on. Just like, yep, I made
Yeah,
this. This is great. You know,
yeah.
if not just kind of like something just for you.
I
So
do that with like generic quests, man. Like, you know,
yeah,
sometimes I'm just like sitting around, I'm like, well, let me play this game I've made. So I have
Yeah,
that, and I have like
yeah.
a couple other demos that I have on my phone where I'm like, oh, I'll just crack this thing open real quick and just, you know, and it's cool to like show people too. Like when you're like, oh, I've been working on something. I'm like, oh yeah, check it out. I have it on my phone actually.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. That's good, man. No, I'm super pumped for you for this whole game development journey because we've been threatening about doing some game dev on this pod, and you jumped in. You're finally doing it.
It's
You
tough,
inspired me
man.
to jump in and get off my ass and do it.
Like
See
just
my.
raw hours, man. I've been putting in like
Mhm.
full work days on these like projects, and uh it's barely anything, right? Like this dice game I made is like a level big, and it's taken me like a week to do. You
Yeah,
know, it's
it's
just
so
hard.
small in the grand scheme of things, though. You know,
Yeah,
it really is when you look at
yeah. The
it.
amount of time. My one buddy
Because
was
I'm.
like, imagine if you spent like a year, you know,
Mhm.
how much like better it would be. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
So I'm looking at it in terms of like hours, right? You spent how much you say like 20, 30 hours on it?
Yeah, yeah, at least.
Okay,
Uh,
so if you're 20, so I have 100 and I want to say 170 hours in Halo Infinite right now.
yeah.
If I would have spent that making a game, I probably would have done
Dude, I
some
did this
crazy
for our
stuff.
one buddy, Mr. Butters. Shout out to Mr. Butters. I'm gonna put
Shout
him on
out.
blast. He has 4,000 hours in Apex Legends. And I was like, it just like boggled my mind. So I like looked up like what you could have done in that time. He could have went to college, got like a doctorate degree, learned 3 languages, like picked up a hobby and became like proficient at it, like art. He could have like
He
learned
did,
any
dude.
of the
He picked
arts.
up Apex Legends. He's
Yeah,
good as shit.
the art of slaying noobs, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Uh, yeah, like and that like with the same amount of hours, like just like if you had
Yeah.
like spent it studiously like on something else, you
You
know.
know, it's like stats like that are interesting because you're looking at it from like a robotic perspective where it's just raw data, but it
Yeah,
doesn't put into account the human element of you need to expand, you need other things to occupy your mind, right? Like you need
yeah.
entertainment, you need, you know, the sense of
You need to
self-worth in some
sleep.
things and sleep. Yeah, exactly. For me, man, like I said, Halo Infinite's kind of taken over my my entertainment and free time, and I'm excited I hit Onyx. You were in the stream when I did that,
Yeah, it was
so
huge.
yeah, it was really big for
It
me.
looked like you used the hack of having your friends with you, so that way like you didn't get the people leaving the game.
Nah, yeah, but I mean, I slayed out on top of that too, though. You were,
It
um,
helps.
yeah, exactly. So you know, I when I hit that, I'm like, I thought this would take me a lot longer than the first month the game is available, you know, and I was like, I pretty much accomplished all of my goals in this game. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's time to start working on some game dev stuff, and you know, I think it is. But it's nice because I think I've shared on this pod too. Like in terms of gaming, for a little bit, I was a little disenchanted with games in general because I felt I was at a point where no game was made for me any
Yeah.
longer. Like I said, one of my favorite genres is FPSs, but I grew up in the age of Quake, Doom, Unreal, you know, and those types of games fell out of vogue. It's been BRs now. It's been more semi-realistic games, the games that I play, but I don't enjoy like the other games. Halo
I
coming
mean,
out and Halo's sandbox being good, not discounting all of the like bugs that people quibble about online. I've been enjoying the hell out of it, and it's definitely reignited my passion for the genre. And when my passion for a genre is ignited, it gets the creative juices flowing. You know, I don't think I would ever actually create a first-person shooter. It's just not something I'm interested in creating. But where my passion is in the 2D space. It's in even competitive 2D games or just hardcore platformers, things that are difficult. And my style is very over the top, very Max Fleischer cartoons. Not in terms of visual style, but in terms of just spectacle. You know,
yeah.
where something like if I make a character shoot someone with an arrow, like when they get hit, they're just gonna explode into a million pieces, fly across the map. That arrow is gonna be gigantic. Something where it doesn't make sense. You know, it's fun for me. Like I love the Acme box of tricks that
I
Wile E.
felt
Coyote
like
pulls
we
out,
got
you know.
away with that because games became more of an industry, and so they don't like to take risk anymore. So it's just
Yes.
like paint by the numbers. But like in the '90s, there's everything was just goofy and wacky, and like that's
Yes.
I tried to like add some of those elements to my game where
Yep.
like I just showed you a special ability where like it's just a fire truck coming in and
Yeah.
then like shoots
Yeah.
down like comets, and like my one buddy was like, "Why though?" And I'm like, "I don't know, because I
Exactly.
wanted to." Like, it's
Exactly.
like if you look at like Earthbound and like all these old NES, SNES games, Sega games, like they just had like random stuff in them. It was like, "Oh, you're going around collecting balls of yarn because like that's what we had around the office," and like you have to get paper clips and yarn, and like you have to like get computer disc. And it's like,
Yep.
but why, dude? It's like, that's what we had. It's fun, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like, we had like characters like Earthworm Jim or like,
Earthworm
you
Jim
know,
was one of the funnier ones because you could launch a cow. Why? Because then the cow will fly past you at the end of the game and then crush your character. And it's like, but why? It's like
yeah,
because it was
so,
funny.
yeah,
That's
man. I
the
feel like
only reason.
I feel like we gotten away a lot from like joy, and it's become more like memes. Like the few games I've been playing that were like roguelikes, they're
Mhm.
like just doing like internet memes. They're like, oh, here's an internet meme, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I remember that, but it's like, try and do something like you have great ideas and good characters, and then like you're not executing.
You want original comedic elements versus recycled references, right?
Yeah,
I think there's a time and a place for references, but you're right. A lot of the indie games, especially the era that you're playing in right now, really leaned onto that pretty hard.
remember Leroy Jenkins?
Yeah, right. I think the Leroy Jenkins thing is.
They'll
I think
never
it's
get
still.
old.
I think it's still funny. Like I still have a
Yeah,
good time with it. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
I,
Like
I would just say like if you've already built out this whole world, and then that just kind of takes me out of it a little bit. If we like do like some like a real world reference,
yeah.
it's like just build your world, man. Like you have every creative possibility at your disposal. Your imagination is limitless, and you're like, let me limit it to like
So
2000
this meme from
early memes.
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, fine. Like, but
That's what I'll say about like Psychonauts 2, that experience. Like it was Double Fine hitting on all cylinders. It was classic Tim Schafer, just nuttiness. That's refreshing. It really is. And the indie space in some of the games that go for a more comedic element, that the ones that succeed, it's because it's original. Comedy, like certain styles of comedy aren't for everyone, but I think for me, I appreciate the effort put forth.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so let's jump in a little bit and talk about the game that inspired you to create your current dice game.
Oh yeah.
I think it was last pod. I was like, hey, you should play Dicey Dungeons,
Yeah,
and
man.
this man decides to actually play a game I recommend. So
Yeah,
I
I
was,
was playing Dicey Dungeons. I beat most of it. The problem with like most of these roguelikes is like because there's like a lot of random elements, like you just get like a hit of bad runs. And then like they also add in like the inventor in that game, like that like is really bad. It I don't it would it's I wouldn't even call it hard. I would just say it's like bad design. Like because you have like randomness, where it's like you have to give up an ability and then like maybe you'll get a new ability, but not always. So you might be down a few abilities on a run. So you're
yeah.
very limited in like the scope of like what you can
You
execute.
can
But
stack the deck, against the computer too.
yeah,
There's a lot of min maxing, but it's a roguelike that I really enjoyed, and seeing you play it makes me want to get back to it. I noticed I don't actually own it on Steam. I'm like, where the hell did I buy this? I got it on itch. Like, what the
all right.
hell? So I was gonna buy the Steam version just to throw some dollars at the dev here and give it another
It's on
go because that game's great.
Xbox Pass. That's where I played it at.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. I'll still
Yeah,
buy it. It's like what,
yeah.
$5 or something.
It's
I'll
not
throw
not
some
too
I'll
bad.
throw some ducats at the
Yeah,
guy.
definitely had fun. It's enjoyable, man. And that's when I was playing this, and I could make this. This is easy.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not easy, but I did make like a similar type of game to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, we spoke about roguelikes a lot because it's one of my favorite genres. So I bring it up, or I'd like to say organically, but definitely I shove it into conversation topics every chance I get. What made you pursue roguelikes in general? Because you've been trying out quite a bit the last few days.
It's like what's available, man. It's like because I don't, much like you, I'm like disenfranchised with a lot of the big AAA games that are out there. And so I'm like, oh, what's like smaller indie games that I can try out? And most of them are just roguelikes because, the breadth of content you have to create is like much less, but the systems are just as complex. So it's like you're gonna have to spend as much time making the systems anyway. So like, why not like get as much juice out of that as you can. And you
Yeah.
know, I understand why that's the major design philosophy right now. So it's just kind of like what's available that isn't like AAA. And I don't know,
Yeah.
man. Like every game I click on, I'm like, oh, is this a roguelike? And I'm like, nope. So I don't know. Trying them.
For me, I like the challenge and a visceral feel to a lot of my games. And like I said, I enjoy 2D quite a bit. And roguelikes are typically 2D and very mechanic focused, so that really lends itself to my own likes. I think I told you I bought Rogue Legacy 2. It's an early access still. Fantastic, by the way. Um, so yeah, no, I love roguelikes, dude. Um, no, any other gems that you've been playing? Because I know you got inspired by Dicey Dungeons. Anything else that caught your eye where you
You,
liked what they
you
did?
saw that game I was playing today. It's,
Donut Country. I had no
Donut
idea what that was,
Country.
and then does it Donut Country or Donut County? I can't remember,
I
but
think it's Donut County. It might be
okay,
country.
okay,
I think
yeah,
it's Donut County.
okay.
It's basically like a Katamari esque game where you go around eating things and you get a bigger and bigger donut and you sink a
Yeah,
whole town into a giant sinkhole.
it looks like you played as a sinkhole slash like black hole kind of a thing,
Yeah,
and you
it's
just had
controlled by a
to.
raccoon
And he,
on his like iPad.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
And then you have to um, uh, continually suck things into it to make your donut bigger, and then
yeah,
you can pull bigger and bigger things through the donut hole.
yeah. Much
Um,
like Katamari, and then there's like little
yeah,
puzzles that are on the level that you have to kind of figure out, and it's fun. It's definitely been something. I just
yeah,
appreciate like the novelty of it, like, and that's a game that also has a lot of charm to it. Like it's well written, it's interesting stuff. So there's good interpersonal relationships that are built there. Because they all get stuck at the bottom of the sinkhole, and so they're all just kind of talking to each other. Then they're like kind of telling the story about how this like raccoon ate up like the whole city into a giant sinkhole. So
See, that's the Saturday morning cartoon wackiness that I love, from the era of gaming that we grew up in, and that when watching you play that game, I'm like, dude, I have to play this. That looks
yeah,
great.
yeah, it's just like it's super chill too. It's like a complete casual game. Like it's not like time limits or any like buzzards or any some nonsense. It's like, oh, just have a chill game where you're play as a raccoon playing his iPad, sucking up different objects to get a bigger sinkhole. And I don't know, it's a great game, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, dude. So what's going on with Overwatch now?
I've
Or is
been
that
I've been taking a break from it. I was waiting for Overwatch 2 to drop, and that got postponed. They had like a small update, but they promised like a way bigger one.
yeah,
So I've just been trying to like just different games that I wanted to play, and my plan was always to play it till like around December when Halo dropped, and then get into Halo. And I bought Halo, but I haven't been playing Halo, so it is what it is.
yeah, yeah?
I
There's
played
been a
with you
thing with
guys a
it.
bunch.
You did,
Like
yeah,
if the squad's on, I'll jump in and play a few with them. But
yeah.
I've mostly just been spending most of my time just working on coding, learning to code.
That's great, man. That's
Yeah.
great.
What about you,
I,
man? What you been on?
You know, day job has really it's ramped up because I have some year end stuff to do. But that I've noticed how much I've improved in just general coding knowledge from getting this day job, to the point where I've made like new programs from scratch,
Yeah.
just to do certain things, scripts and stuff, editing someone else's old script to work in a current environment. That I can't wait to get back into game dev. My workload during the day is going to be a lot less than what it is now. I'm looking forward to just downtime to really sink my teeth into some ideas. So speaking to you and seeing you do this game dev stuff, I'm like, since Halo's release and also just life, I've stopped working on the stealth game that I've mentioned, and I was like, I'm gonna get back into it, and if I'm not if I can do one thing a day related to it, I feel accomplished in that. So I've been working on art. Art, I feel, is something that I've never been particularly good at, but I've never had a huge interest in learning how to be good at it. And as I've texted you this too, I've started taking or looking at like art tutorials on how to do certain things. The game I'm making is top down, so I was looking into how to make top down characters, how to animate top down, things like that. I hope to have some stuff really soon to showcase here on the pod, hopefully next week, because
Nice,
I
man.
have a day off that I'm really just gonna be making some animations, dude. That's the plan, and you know it's been good, and as I've said before, the most creative I've been in game dev has been when I lived with my brother-in-law and we were making games and we literally just we were on two sides of a kitchen table with laptops, just making stuff, going back and forth, just yelling at each other or poking our head up, talking, saying, "Hey, what we're doing? What's this?" Or just we're bouncing ideas off, and it was such a creative just bubble where we were churning things out so fast, dude, and we were learning so fast. Just having you doing this on your own journey is enough to go to like get to me and go, I can do this too. And you know, I decided to focus on you know what I view as a detriment to myself. And yes, I can use placeholder art. Yes, I can use you know, purchased assets or free assets,
HIO end of the year sale
which is
going on right now.
exactly
That
which is
interior,
just fine.
exterior. That's what I've
Which
been
I
using,
do.
and I know how to do art, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Which
this,
you know, I've done in the past, and I will
yeah,
probably do to fill in a lot of the things. But you know, it's something that I found myself avoiding even on a subconscious level, and I didn't want to. You know, I take pride in doing a lot of things myself. People look at like my streams, right? They're like, "Hey, how'd you make that intro? How'd you do this? What did you use?" And I'm like, "I made all of this." They're like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah,
yeah.
I made everything. Like it's
Like,
all
where'd you
me."
get that? You're like, I made that, I drew that.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't get it
Yeah,
from anywhere. I got it from my head, you know? So
yeah.
so
It's
I was
pen and
like, if I
paper.
can do all of this because of pure interest in it, right? Why am I avoiding art? And it's I think one of the worst things is I know really good artists, you know, like yourself,
Yeah,
Sir Solace, you know, my buddy Poison as well. Just you guys are all phenomenal at art in general in multiple styles, like your paintings that you've been displaying and everything else. Sir Solace, I watched do the life art thing that he's like, this looks terrible, and it looked like a straight up person, and I'm like, okay, dude, yeah, that's terrible, and it looks like fucking true to life. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever.
yeah,
And
man.
you know, so I think that's like one of those things where it's like, you know, and it's like, no, find my own you know, style, find my own thing that I'm comfortable with, that looks good to me, that I can. And I've always taken pride in my animating ability, just never my just still art ability. Like the drawing the thing will take some time, but I could animate the hell out of it. And as a kid, I even made a point of keyframing things. You know, I had very smooth animations that took weeks to make, though, for a 30-second to 1 minute, you know,
Got that DS
flash video.
animation
You know,
studio going.
exactly. I learned Flash back in the day purely to animate stuff, and I made stick figure things, and I made sprite movies. You know, and I'm still very proud of it. One I made when I was 7 years old that I still have that I'm looking at. I'm like, I had a real eye for this shit. Like
Yeah,
it started pretty early, you know, and I'm like, why stop it? You know, and that's what I wanted to share with it. I just want to share it publicly. Just going, you know, you know, everyone kind of goes through mental hurdles, whether it's subconscious or not, you know, and just kind of acknowledge it and push through it. You
yeah,
know, no harm in admitting it, no harm in you know, trying to do better. Even if I didn't want to, like you said, I could just use placeholder things. I could just get some assets from itch.io or the
bro.
game
I
art repository.
straight up charted like what was
Hmm.
causing me to like mental hurdles.
Yeah.
So it was like I just made like a graph, and I was just like, what do I enjoy doing? And then I'm like, at what point don't I enjoy it anymore? And then like I figured like that out, like what part of this don't I enjoy that's like causing me not to have fun doing it. And then like I just like like I don't know, there's something about like visually just seeing it like on like a just like a quick chart, be like, all right, this is like how long it takes me to finish something. This is like what needs to be done. I'm good at this, and this. This I just don't like doing. Why don't I like doing it? And then like I don't know, there's something about just like seeing it like there where you're like, okay, how can I just like do the least amount of that and still like get, like you said, like everyone's gonna have like a hurdle, and like you can either like break through it or just go around it. And like as I've gotten older, I just go around it and just keep going down the road,
Yeah.
and you'll just get better because like when you come back to like some of those hurdles, like you've just improved so much, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is. It seemed like a mountain at the time, but it's like it's just a little step,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
it's that's what I've been trying to do here, like a bunch of different projects. I've just been like, what was I always like afraid to do? It was like one of them was like that card game, like another one's like a match 3 type of game. Just because I'm like, oh, I have to like learn all this stuff I don't want to learn, but like after I'm doing like this stuff, I'm like, oh, it's not that crazy. It's not that hard. Like it's mostly just like patience and
Mhm.
not being afraid to like not know what you're doing and like mess up, and like that's what life's about. It's about making a bunch of mistakes and just learning from them.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's one thing where you mentioned something very very profound. What are you afraid of doing?
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, it was just general art stuff. Everything else, I'm like, oh, I can learn that. That'll be fine. It'll take some time, but I can learn it. But
I found like a
now
lot
it's
of
just
it's like
screw it.
ego as well, like your own like personal
I
ego
think so.
about things.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to like be humble about it. Just like, I don't know how to do something. I need to like go ask for help or learn how to do it from like somebody else.
Is it
Or
one of those things where, because I mean, like, do you succeed at a lot of things like pretty quickly?
uh I'd say yeah, probably in general.
Yeah,
But
same. And I
but I
think
can't
that's
tell if
part of it.
it's like from life experience. So like I've built up like a good foundation,
Hmm.
or uh if I'm, just really lucky at stuff, or like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
because I use my kids as kind of like an example to like larger than life stuff, because my daughter has been very very talented at a lot of things that she tried right away. If there's something that she is not grasping immediately, she gets frustrated and doesn't want to do it. And I'm looking
yeah,
at her and I'm like, no, just keep trying. You gotta keep trying, and then you'll get better. And she, I pause and I'm like, huh. It was just like
yeah.
a light bulb moment where I'm like, okay, I could apply this to myself.
Yeah, it's love. It's
Where
like fear of failure and ego. It's like the two biggest hurdles everyone faces.
yeah, and it's for me. I don't even know if it was fear of failure. It was just fear of boredom than anything else. It's like,
Yeah,
why do something where I'm bored to tears? It's like
it's
that,
fair.
and that's like kind of how I chose jobs, right? Like I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
not doing this. This job pays a bunch of money, but I'm not doing that because it's boring as shit. It's
yeah.
like,
It's,
why?
you could
But
play Apex Legend all day, man. Like
yeah,
there's infinite possibilities. We live in a great time to be alive, where uh, if you don't want to be uncomfortable, like if you don't want to be out of your comfort zone, learning new things, like you don't have to. And
yeah,
there's no penalty. Like there's no problem with it. Like I feel like we're in a weird society where they make you think that everything you do has to have some inherent value or be contributing at large to like the betterment
there
of
are so many
like producing.
self-help books with that. It's like stop having hobbies that aren't making you money. Fuck whoever thinks like that, dude.
Yeah,
Seriously. No, seriously,
the
fuck those
Sigma
guys.
mindset,
Yeah, seriously.
that
No, fuck
grind
those guys.
hustle.
Fuck the grind people, dude. Like, you can have hobbies. Like, not everything you do has to make you money, dude. Have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Jesus. Like, we're talking about game dev and stuff, and at some level, like, yes, I want to sell games and make money doing it. Great. But on the other hand, I just want to make stuff for me that's fun and something I created. I want to release it online, go, hey, somebody, I made this cool. If you like it, great. If not, I still made it. I still have an impact or imprint on the world as a whole. Something
yeah.
that'll be there as when I'm gone. On the great thing called the internet.
Yeah,
Like
there's
I
a book I was reading. It's called The Atomic Habit. And it kind of covers this. It's called The Valley of Disappointment. It's like it's what you want to be doing and like how you think it should be going, and then like in reality, it's kind of like a curve. And like most people hit that like curve where like it's not where your expectation is. Like you expect things to go linearly, but they don't. They seldom do. He calls it like the melting point, where it's like ice melts at like 32 degrees or some shit, and he's like every degree up until 32 it's still an ice cube, but after like the next degree over it starts to melt. So it's like at
yeah.
what point did the ice actually start melting? And it's like those small degrees that like have changed. So I don't it's hard to like make yourself uncomfortable like in a extremely comfortable society, like doing things that are challenging, but it's it's worth it sometimes, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes like you just finish something, you're like, man, I spent a lot of time just like doing this for like no reward, nothing to show for it, but like, it was hard. But I don't know, it's like you can work really hard digging a hole and then filling it back up, and like you didn't really accomplish anything. But you don't
Right.
know, man. You don't know if like until
You
you
don't know
dig
until you
down there if
try.
there's going to be gold.
Yeah, I will say my new day job has done a lot of that actually, because I went in knowing like a generality of how like certain things work from like PHP coding. I knew of like database management. I've never done any, and now that I've been doing both things, finding like my favorite thing is being basically Sherlock Holmes, right? Figuring out, finding a problem, figuring out a solution to it. You know, I realize I like doing that in a work environment, and I like doing that in creating games, right? What stopped me before is there was no other thing to. I wasn't held accountable by anything, right? When I'm
Yeah,
at my day job, I'm held accountable by the job itself, right? It's like
yeah,
you couldn't do this. Why? Did you need help somewhere or whatever? And I realized that I'm a type of person who performs better with the lights on. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like like I'll take like Halo as an example. If I'm playing just on my own, I do well, but I'm not trying to go absolutely ape shit. When someone's watching me, the stream's on, or I have a teammate, I will buckle down, white knuckle it, and do everything I can. Same thing with like work. If I'm working on something and someone's expecting an end result from me, I will do my best. If it's just me, I'm probably gonna cut corners, and that's a mindset for myself that I realized I do even in like certain things in my home life. Like I built this desk that my computer's sitting on, right? I
yeah.
didn't read the instructions. There's a
It's
point
the most
where
dad thing you could do.
yeah. There's a
Like I
point
built a desk the
yeah,
other
yeah,
day.
yeah. There's a point where it's like a three-tiered desk. It has a swivel. There's a point where I had to attach the swivel, but I literally didn't see the third screw, so I just like was like F it and drilled and drilled a hole in there. And I was like, I
Yeah,
won't
this
go
is
too deep.
fine.
And then I find the actual pre-drilled hole there next to it, and I'm like, oh, I was just blind. It was just too dark when I was doing this, and I drilled too far up. So then there's
It's
like a
got a
little
little
bubble
bib.
underneath my second monitor, so I had to sand that down. But
This is why you gotta get the kids held the flashlight. Hold the flashlight for dad.
Exactly. Yeah. When I built this one, my daughter was like 3 months, so that wasn't happening. But it's something like that where I just was like good enough. But if I would have taken the time and I would have had been held accountable, this would have been the best damn desk you've seen, right? And I realized that about myself, and I'm like, you know what? Just work like the lights are on. That's me. That's a mindset. I'm a person who likes the stage. I like being up there. I like being center field. I like being center frame on a camera. I like the attention, and when I don't have it, I'm like, fuck it. Why does it bother? No one's watching. So, and it's just funny because I don't care if no one's watching my stream, but it's just the fact of being on camera that I love.
Yeah.
It's a weird character trait, but it's there.
So you gotta
you know?
be a little extra, a little on.
Yeah,
When the lights
exactly.
are on, you gotta be on.
Exactly.
Showtime,
I
boys.
think it's because like I said, I had like a little acting background too, and it's like that stage life, just
Yeah.
living. But that's everyone's different, man, and you learn stuff about yourself.
Yeah, man. It's life, man. It's sometimes you gotta put in a little extra work and go past the hurdle, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Sure,
Other
sure.
times you just gotta take a break. Like just
Yeah,
enjoy your
dude.
life. You just
Yeah,
like if you're really like unhappy or like depressed doing something, like take a break. Like just walk away. Like people ask you about it, it's like, yeah, shit happens. I don't know. Like,
for sure, for sure. Nothing wrong with taking a break, dude. Even like you do you feel bad that you took a year break from game dev?
no, because like I don't know, like I know that I just kind of work in weird cycles like
Hmm.
that,
Yep.
where I just have like a huge creative output. It usually happens around like October till like January. It usually goes with like the seasonal months here because of our winter, I think.
Yeah, our
So I
winter
think when
sucks
it's like
ass.
gets colder and I stay home, I'm like, all right, I gotta do something in here to stay productive. Whereas like in the summer, I like going outside, going for walks, like going bike riding. Uh, I like painting. I can't really paint right now because like the cold, so I like close up all the windows and stuff because of the fumes.
Yeah.
So I did, I don't have as much to do. So like all my
You need a
indoor
creative
hobbies.
outlet, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you go
That's how
crazy.
I am too. I think every game except for one were made in the winter.
Yeah.
I that's something to be said. I don't know how
I,
people do it in the summer and like the forever summer states. You know what I mean? Like you guys do you. Maybe you're working on something when it's raining. I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, dude. We're near the end here. Anything that you're currently working on, current goals that you wanted to share? What's your
Uh,
next step?
I'm finishing up that dice game today ish, or this weekend at least. It should be out. That's on itch.io.
Yep, we'll put a link on the comments and we'll put it right at the top.
Yeah.
That'll be the first thing you see before anything else.
I gotta just do a tutorial level for it and then go in and change the stage level so it gets harder as you progress through the game.
Mhm.
And the other thing I have to do is just uh, polish that backroom polish that nobody's gonna see. Because like right now the game's like 20 megabits big, and all that is music files because I didn't want to like go through and compress them to like .oggs.
How
Like
big is the game without the music files?
it's probably like around like 10. So it's
10
literally like
megs.
twice the size. It's just music. And it's not huge. And I know like most people have like bandwidth and stuff now, but like it's just bad practice, I feel like. And like I also have like a few PNGs that I just like threw in there that I could compress. Like I didn't like, spend time doing. I was just like, this is fine, whatever. But it was a slapdash thing. And then originally I wasn't going to put it anywhere, but like now that it's up somewhere, I'm like, I just need to make this smaller. And I also know that people have shorter attention spans now as well. I think they're saying like 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds. This is like less than a goldfish, which is 3 seconds.
Jesus.
So if
Okay.
like it's like 1.5 seconds is like somebody staring at a blank screen of your game trying to load, they're going to click off of it. They're going to go to something else. They're going to try something else. So, uh,
Hmm.
it's just a mindset to make it more available to the greatest amount of people. But so after that, I want to try and do the match 3 game at some point. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that anytime soon, but this is the next big hurdle. I finished the card game, and I have the basic framework for like a Dragon Force clone that I've been working on.
Sweet.
But
Nice.
yeah, man, it's a lot of little projects. Nothing too crazy. What about you, man? Any big projects? Anything you're working on?
Big projects like I said, stealth game. We're
Going past Onyx?
going full bore into that. Halo wise, yeah, I'm gonna climb through Onyx. It's good for me to have a game that I am really loving to just blow off steam.
Yeah,
Like you said, winter months in winter state and is rough, man. Summer, disc golf, definitely going outside doing stuff was a big thing for me to just blow off steam or get something going. Um, so I'm definitely going to work on the stealth game. Mentioning it here on the pod definitely forces me to work on it more because, like I said, when the lights are on, that's when I'm working.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so there's that. So I'm excited, man. At the end of the day, I'm excited for what's coming, what's coming up. I think the only thing that I know some things that'll distract me from that goal, like my son's birthday is in 12 days from the launch of this episode. So planning that, getting ready for that, and all the family and stuff. So
yeah,
it'll be that. There's my mother's birthday, my own birthday coming up, stuff like that. Just family obligations, but when that's happening, you know how to deal with it. So,
yeah,
I'm taking something from you as just blocking out time, scheduling
yeah.
time for
Just be like,
myself
this
to
is a
do
time I'm
this.
gonna be doing this for an hour. If you guys need
Exactly.
me, I'm busy. Like,
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't know. Yeah,
It's worked
something.
for this pod, honestly. Like I said, we block out time to record. I also block out time to edit. You know,
Yeah,
like I'm blocking out time for game dev. That's what I have to do. That it works, and I loved it, man. It's good shit.
hey man,
Yeah.
it's a kind of holds you accountable. I feel like for like me, I'm also a big procrastinator. So like when I have like a
Yep.
deadline for something, I'm like more likely to get it done. I don't know. I heard something. It said that like whatever task you get grows to like the amount of times given to do it. So it's like if you have like 8 hours to get something done, it's going to take you all 8 hours to do it. So I don't know how true that is, but it definitely
Feels
helps
like
to
it
like
sometimes.
have like a set time. And
For
I
sure.
just I've been keeping like just like a little moleskin and writing down things when they come to me as well. So
There we
uh
go. Sweet, dude.
yeah, Yeah,
Sweet.
it's nice, man. It's like I do that, and I have like Evernote on my phone where like I'll just write down something like if I'm just like doing whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do this, this, and this, and uh, it's not as hard. And like I've been trying to get better at like commenting like my code as well because I'm like,
It's huge. Yeah.
yeah. And I showed you like some of it, like the early stuff where I didn't have anything, and then like the later stuff where it's like broken down like way nicer. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's huge, man. You gotta write it down in case somebody like picks it up for you, and that's usually you in the future.
Yeah. We're like, what the hell was I thinking? For sure.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, Chip, keep grinding, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Check out. Did you have a name for the game yet?
Man, I forgot what I called it. Some crazy. uh, I called it Double Revenge Inferno of Retreat.
All right, all right, all
I
right.
hit like a random name generator, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, that works."
That's hilarious.
I was like, "I got
All
to
right.
catch him
Double Revenge Inferno and Retreat. Check
on itch.io."
check that out on itch.io. Links down in the comments. Also, while you're there at the comments, tell us what you're working on. Tell us what any mental blocks you have. Sometimes it's good just to get that stuff out. For the Combo Wombo podcast, I'm Mr. Gimpy. That's Chipmunk. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody. We out.
Peace.